with Superman, Season 2, Episode 2, My Adventures with My Girlfriend. And it's your boy Icon with another DC TV animated review for you. And this particular episode, we start off with The Wall. Commander Waller, she got up, she was making cookies, she was making bacon and eggs and toast and everything. We were watching her clean the living room, feed the dog, but then she goes down to what I'm going to assume is Cadmus, and she actually goes and talks to Lois Lane's father. Now, before we get started, guys, make sure you hit the notification bell, hit the like button, and or subscribe to my YouTube channel. Definitely check out the ONG channel as well, along with Imaginative Visions and Gotham Geek Girl, as we roll on for some more superhero goodness. So, now that Amanda Waller has gone through Cadmus, she's still talking to Lois's dad, and Lois is still in a place where she's trying to find her dad. Clark, though, he's in a headspace where he's trying to find his cousin, because now that he knows he has family, from Krypton, that's the most important thing to him. But he hasn't actually told Lois yet, so he was trying to tell her, but she's still talking about his daddy. And then while the two of them were having a conversation, this little black kid who looked like Static ran up on both of them, and they were like, "Can you please help me find my dad?" Because he's like, "I know you guys know Superman." So they were just like, "Fine, we'll help you find your dad, boy." But then it turns out that where the kid's dad was also the same place where Lois's dad was, so it's like two birds with one stone. So then before they go down to the fortress to Cadmus, Superman ends up telling Lois about his cousin. He was just like, "Listen, I have family here." And Lois wasn't very thrilled about that, because she was like, "Bro," she said, "you want to bring more Kryptonians up in this bitch?" And then that's when, they got to Cadmus, and then Lois was just like, "We're gonna try to do this elaborate ruse to try to sneak through the guards." And then Superman was like, "I'm fucking Superman, bitch." He's like, "Let's just kick down the door and wave the 4-4. So they go into the building. They're looking for her dad. Meanwhile, while that's happening, Amanda Waller is actually talking to the father, and she's trying to get him to tell her all of his information, like where his hidden bases are, like where all his hidden caches are. The two of them are going back and forth, and he's like, "Oh, come on, Mandy." He was just like, "I'm the one that taught you the spy game." And he's like, "You think you're going to get information out of me?" The two of them had a very weird dynamic. The way they were going back and forth, talking about how I trained you, and I did this, I had your first kill, I was there when you skinned your first enemy. I'm like, "Well, y'all fucking at some point." Because this doesn't even seem like new blood versus old blood thing. The two of them seem like they have something actually. If we find out that Amanda Waller is Lois's mom, I'm gonna die. But so anyway, so the two of them are going back and forth. Then they find out that Superman's up in the building. So Superman's in the building. Slade Wilson shows up. The flaming skull shows up, because while we're at Cadmus, Amanda Waller actually has all the metahumans that we saw in the in the first season. She has them there at Cadmus, and then she seeks the flaming head guy, the flaming skull head guy. He's going after Superman, trying to take down Superman. So while he's fighting Superman, Lois goes into her father's cell, and she was like, "Dad, I found you." And then he was like, "Nobody asked you to find me." And then she was like, "We're getting out of here." And he was like, "Bitch." He's like, "Who told you I wanted to leave?" And the two of them are arguing, because he's like, "Listen, you don't know anything about this." He was like, "You don't know about the spy game. You don't know about the army game." He said that you're a liability here. He said, "I'm working, Waller." He's like, "I'm working an angle. I know what I'm doing." He's like, "Just let me do what I do." But she's like, "No, Dad." She's like, "I'm here to rescue you, and I brought Superman." And he was like, "That doesn't help." Because now Clark's upset because he's beefing with her dad. The dad don't even like Superman because he an alien. Meanwhile, Waller trying to kill everybody. So now they're trying to figure out how to get the hell up out of here. And, they're pinned down. Slade Wilson's there. All the guns are there, and everything's happening. Clark does find the beacon, though. He found the beacon. He took the beacon, put it in his pocket. He didn't get to tell. He did activate the beacon, too, which I thought was cool. He activated it before he put it in his pocket. So now he should already have the coordinates to where Kara is. So I guess we didn't get to see Kara in this particular episode, but I guess as the episodes progress, maybe by episode 3 or 4, they'll probably just have an episode dedicated to him trying to find her, because the beacon's already been turned on. Now this brings us to Jimmy, young James Olsen. So earlier in the episode, we did find out that Perry told him, he said, "Look, son," he said, "that I paid you to do Flamebird, and this is the Daily Planet. We're supposed to produce information, we're supposed to produce videos, we're supposed to produce content daily. That's why it's the Daily Planet." He said, "Every single day we're supposed to produce this content." He said, "So far you've produced absolute shite." So he said that now I'm giving you an intern team to help you run Flamebird. And it ended up being the one random mustache reporter who he was his understudy in season 1, and the 4 random kids that helped Lois find Superman in the season finale. So I'm just like, this isn't a real team. These kids are 10, but Jimmy's upset. He because he wants to hang out with Lois and Clark, but he can't do that because he's like, every time you do that, you don't give me any information, any footage, and we actually need to sell this Flamebird Bird shit. So then Jimmy ends up taking the entire team down to Cadmus so they can go rescue Clark and they can go rescue Lois. They get to the docks. Jimmy can't, they can't get to them because none of the boats are running. So then Jimmy ends up paying for a boat so they can get to Cadmus so they can try to rescue Clark and everybody. And then once again, Jimmy's money went from the 4s to the 3s. His money is dropping tremendously, and I don't know why this is happening. So unless they're gonna do something where Jimmy's gonna end up dancing or shaking his ass for money just to make ends meet, I don't know why it's important that they're letting us know that he's about to go broke because he's spending his money on way too much shit. But it ends up actually being good because then when Amanda Waller got all of her minions outside, because they found the prisoners, because they found out that in Cadmus Amanda Waller was also working. She was doing experiments on prisoners. They found a little black kid daddy, and then the dad told them, he said, listen, she's actually trying to give people superpowers and try to enhance their abilities. So then he was just like, the reason why she's doing experiments on these people, because these are people that nobody will care about if something happens to them. So then they end up getting everybody outside. Now, mind you, he's with 50 prisoners who have been experimented on. At least half of them have superpowers that have been untapped. And I was looking at each individual person to see if they look like a DC villain or a potential DC villain, but we're going to find out that some of these people did end up getting superpowers. So now there's a standoff. The Wall has got her team ready to kill all these people. They're ready to fight to save their lives, and then good old Jimmy shows up with the boat. Everybody gets on the boat. Clark takes out all the gunmen. I don't know why he didn't do that from the beginning before Jimmy showed up. He takes out the gunmen. Everybody disappears, and then the Wall is left standing there looking stupid. So now they go back home. Everybody's back home. Lois is talking to Clark, and he was just like, I got to talk to you about my cousin because now the beacon's been turned on, but he didn't tell her that. But then she was just like, oh, it's fine, Clark. She's like, whatever, do what you want. And then I got to go talk to my daddy. She talks to her dad. Her and her dad kind of patch things up a little bit, and then he was just like, oh, I've been compromised, and I don't know what I'm going to do now. I need to go into hiding. And then she goes, well, why don't you go stay with Clark? And he was like, bitch. So that's going to be a thing. So now we got an odd couple. And if Jimmy is filthy rich, why is he still living with Clark? Why is Clark and Jimmy still and that makes it even worse because if Jimmy and Clark are still living together in some random 2-bedroom apartment somewhere in the city, why is his funds significantly plummeting that quickly? He's not spending money on rent and he does not have a car. So there's just things like that. I'm just like, what are we doing? He bought one thing and now it's suddenly broke. But anyway, so now the dad's going to be living with them, which is going to make the Superman dynamic very awkward. But it's going to be a little interesting, a little odd couple thing. The beacon has been turned on and we're still looking for Supergirl. And then finally, at the end credit scene, they did this weird thing where in season 1, there was a particular nerd who ended up building the parasite suit for Dr. Ivo. He showed up in the first episode. And this is after he got fired because he was trying to get work in other places and people weren't hiring him. And they told him, one lady told him straight up, she said, I'm not going to hire the guy who built the parasite suit that almost destroyed Metropolis. So then while he was wallowing in his own self-pity, Jimmy walked up to him and he was like, look, man, you got to make opportunity out there. He said, if there's an opportunity, you got to grab it by the balls and just make shit happen. And I was just like, okay, what an odd thing to say. I thought the guy was T.O. Morrow because every single time he was about to say his name, he never actually said his name. But he did say Alex at one point, and I didn't think about it at the time. But then I said he never actually said his full name. He kept getting cut off. So then, so at the end of the episode, he decided to grab life by the nuts, and he went to Cadmus, and he used some experimental technology that he created to knock out Parasite. And then she was just like, "Who are you, random boy?" And then he was like, "I'm the guy who built this tech, and I want to work with you to keep this world safe from Superman and from aliens and all sorts of evil threats." And then she was just like, what's your name? She's like, "Welcome to Cadmus, son. What's your name?" And then he was about to say his name, and he was like, "Matter of fact, don't call me Alex." He said, "You can call me Lex Luthor because that sounds like it'll get the bitches." So now we got Lex Luthor in the mix, and it is an interesting dynamic because he's not already rich. He's not already established. We're getting a Lex Luthor who's literally dirt poor. At this point, Jimmy Olsen has more money than Lex Luthor now. Lex Luthor is at the beginning stages of him building his tech, him building his empire. LexCorp isn't even a thing yet. So obviously, with the help of Cadmus, Amanda Waller's going to fund his nefarious deeds, and he's going to use that to build the empire that we all know and love. I do hope they bring his sister into the mix at some point, because if we get a Lena Luthor dynamic with them, I think that'll be interesting to add. But we're getting two things now because we're getting the introduction of Supergirl and we're getting the introduction of Lex Luthor. I appreciate the fact that every single person on this particular show is young and just starting out, so we do get to see a lot of like origin stories. But that was how the episode ended, and thank you for tuning in. So now, like I said, so this is where we're at now. So we're doing Superman. We got the Superman Lex Luthor dynamic. We got Jimmy Olsen depleting his own funds. We have the whole thing between Lois and her daddy, and then we got Supergirl hanging off in the wind. We got the Wall in the mix. So we'll see, because if Amanda Waller, again, if she's doing experiments, we should definitely get like other villains, whether they're Superman villains or other DC villains, because she could have given birth to like the Weather Wizard or the Captain Cold, or she could have given birth to like other people. So let's keep an eye on that and let's see where we go. But share your questions, comments, and or concerns down below, and we'll continue to talk about it. So check me out on X. Check me out on Instagram. Check me out on, I was about to say Twitter, but that's X. So check me out on TikTok, because I'm on the TikTok, always on YouTube, where you can leave your questions, comments, and or concerns. Check out my first review for My Adventures of Superman Season 2. Check out my reviews for X-Men 1997, because we got some great things coming up, because my birthday is on Monday, Memorial Day. And then after that, the first convention we're doing this year will be Brooklyn Comic-Con. So that was it, guys. So once again, coming to you live from the undisclosed location. Once again, thank you to Warner Brothers for providing us with a pre-look to the first 2 episodes of My Adventures of Superman. I look forward to reviewing the rest of the season. And until next time, I'll love it away as always, because we're out this. Yeah!